Sydney Colson just dropped some major insights about her role alongside Caitlin Clark for the upcoming 2025 season, and it's got everyone talking. The two-time WNBA champion brings championship experience to a Fever squad, hungry for their first title since 2014. What exactly did Sydney reveal about how she plans to contribute to the team, and how will her relationship with the superstar Caitlin Clark shape the Fever's championship aspirations? This bombshell interview is sending shockwaves through the WNBA world. What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome back to the channel where we bring you the hottest WNBA news and updates. Today we're talking about something that's absolutely electric. Sydney Colson just went viral with some major revelations about her role with the Indiana Fever and how she plans to work alongside phenom Caitlin Clark in the 2025 season. If you've been following the WNBA, you know that Sydney Colson is no ordinary player. This veteran guard has earned her stripes in this league, most notably as a key bench player for the Las Vegas Aces, where she secured back-to-back WNBA championships. That winning pedigree is exactly what made her such a valuable addition to the Indiana Fever, a team that's been rebuilding and looking to return to championship contention. Let's get right into what Sydney said in her viral interview. She opened up about her experiences with the Aces and how those lessons will translate to her new role with the Fever. With the Aces, people would dismiss me as a non-factor, Colson admitted candidly. For a lot of the year I've been a role player coming off the bench for my entire season, but then she dropped this truth bomb that has fans and analysts buzzing. Every role is important. You need somebody to be excited about being a defensive stopper. You need somebody to be excited about getting rebounds. You need all the pieces to make it work. This perspective gives us incredible insight into how the Fever locker room might function with both established veterans like Colson and superstar talent like Caitlin Clark. Sydney isn't coming in with ego, she's coming in with championship experience and a willingness to do whatever it takes to win. What's particularly interesting is how Sydney specifically referenced her defensive assignments during her time with the Aces. I had to defend Sabrina Ionescu for the game, she pointed out, referring to her matchup against the New York Liberty star. This reveals exactly what role Sydney might play alongside Caitlin Clark, taking on the tough defensive assignments so Clark can maximize her offensive output. The Indiana Fever front office has been methodical about building a roster that complements Clark's generational talent. They needed players who understand their roles and don't need to dominate the ball to make an impact. Sydney Colson fits that mold perfectly. Let's break down what this means for the Fever's rotation in 2025. With Caitlin Clark expected to play heavy minutes at the point guard position, Colson will likely serve as both her backup and occasional backcourt partner, but more importantly, Sydney brings championship-level defensive intensity to a team that struggled on that end of the floor last season. The statistics back this up. During her time with the Aces, Colson's defensive rating was consistently among the best for bench players in the league. She may not fill up the stat sheet with points, but her ability to disrupt opposing guards and apply ball pressure made her invaluable to a championship team. What's most revealing from Sydney's comments is her emphasis on role acceptance. While offense is sexy for everybody, we need every single person to be showing up every day, and we've got to know what we're going to get from you, she explained. This mindset was fundamental to the Aces' success, with players like Colson embracing specific roles rather than trying to do too much. That was a big thing with the Aces, Sydney continued. We all accepted our roles and thrived in them, and that's what made us successful. But here's where things get really interesting for Fever fans. Sydney made it clear that she intends to bring that same mentality to Indiana Fever, and she won't be quiet about it. I have a feeling that'll be the vibe going into this team as well, she stated confidently. Then came the kicker, and if it's not, then I'm gonna just be speaking up a lot, I guess. That last statement speaks volumes about the leadership role Sydney plans to take in the Fever locker room. She's not just coming to Indiana to play basketball, she's coming to establish a championship culture. She understands what it takes to win at the highest level in today's WNBA, and she's prepared to be a vocal presence to ensure everyone buys in. This is exactly what the Fever need alongside Caitlin Clark. While Clark has proven herself to be an incredible talent and natural leader, she's still relatively new to the professional game. Having a veteran like Colson who can help establish those winning habits and maintain accountability is invaluable. It's worth noting that Sydney is one of the few players on the Fever roster with championship experience in the current WNBA era. The league has evolved dramatically in recent years, with increased emphasis on spacing, three-point shooting, and versatile defense. Sydney's championships came in this modern era, making her insights particularly relevant. The dynamic between Colson and Clark will be fascinating to watch. Clark has garnered massive attention for her offensive brilliance, those logo three-pointers, no-look passes, and scoring explosions that have made her a household name, but championship teams need players who excel in less glamorous aspects of the game. Sydney clearly understands this dynamic. Her comment about offense being sexy for everybody reflects her understanding that while players like Clark will get the headlines, it's the collective effort, including defense, rebounding and role acceptance, that ultimately leads to championships. The timing of Sydney's comments couldn't be better for the Fever, with training camp approaching and expectations for the 2025 season sky high. Establishing clear roles and team chemistry will be crucial. Fans are eagerly anticipating how this revamped roster will perform, particularly with the addition of several key veterans alongside Clark. Indiana's front office deserves credit for bringing in players like Colson who complement their star rather than compete with her. They've clearly learned from other franchises that have successfully built around transcendent talents. The Aces blueprint, with defined roles and collective buy-in, provides an excellent model for the Fever to follow. What also stands out from Sydney's interview is her specific mention of defending elite guards like Sabrina Ionescu. The WNBA is currently blessed with exceptional backcourt talent. Players like Ionescu, Ariko Gunbowale, Jewel Lloyd, and Chelsea Gray. Having a defensive specialist like Colson who can match up with these players gives the Fever a tactical advantage they lacked previously. This defensive identity could become the Fever's calling card, while Clark's offensive fireworks will draw the headlines. A commitment to defense could be what separates Indiana from other contenders. Sydney's emphasis on role acceptance and defensive intensity suggests this will be a focus. The Fever's coaching staff surely appreciates having a player like Colson who can reinforce their message in the locker room. When coaches talk about sacrifice and role acceptance, it carries more weight when a two-time champion is echoing those sentiments. Sydney will be an extension of the coaching staff on the floor and in practice. Another underrated aspect of Sydney's potential contribution is her mentorship of younger players. Beyond Clark, the Fever have several developing talents who could benefit from Sydney's experience. Her willingness to embrace a role and prioritize winning over individual statistics sets a powerful example. Sydney's background with the Aces also gives her insight into what it takes to perform under pressure. The playoffs are a different beast, and having players who thrived in those moments is crucial. When games tighten up and possessions become more valuable, role players who excel in specific areas become even more important. The chemistry between Colson and Clark will develop over time, but Sydney's comments suggest she already has a clear understanding of how to complement the star guard. By taking on defensive responsibilities and providing leadership, she'll help create an environment where Clark can flourish without carrying an excessive burden. Fever fans should be particularly encouraged by Sydney's implicit commitment to accountability. Her comment about speaking up if players don't accept their roles indicates she won't allow complacency or ego to derail the team's potential. That kind of veteran leadership is exactly what young, talented teams often lack. As the 2025 season approaches, the excitement surrounding the Fever is palpable. Ticket sales are through the roof, media attention is at an all-time high, and expectations are soaring. Within this environment, having level-headed veterans like Sydney who understand the process of building a championship team becomes even more valuable. The Fever's championship drought stretches back to 2012, and fans are hungry for another title. Sydney's experience with the Aces turning potential into championships offers a roadmap for how Indiana can follow a similar trajectory. The parallels between these situations aren't perfect, but the principles of role acceptance and collective sacrifice remain constant. What's particularly exciting for Fever fans is that Sydney isn't just talking about defense and role-playing knees. She's excited about it. Her enthusiasm for doing the unglamorous work that leads to winning is infectious. That attitude spreads throughout a locker room and establishes a culture where everyone embraces their specific contribution. Something that's often overlooked in championship teams is the importance of bench production and specialized skills. Sydney highlighted this perfectly when she mentioned defending Sabrina Ionescu in crucial moments. Despite only scoring 2 points herself, that kind of selfless contribution is what separates good teams from great ones. We've seen throughout WNBA history that championship teams require more than just star power. They need role players who understand and embrace their specific contributions. The Detroit Shock teams of the 2000s, the Minnesota Lynx dynasty, and the recent Aces champions all exemplified this balance between star talent and role acceptance. One fascinating aspect of Sydney's comments is the implied contrast with other teams where role acceptance might be less emphasized. Without naming names, she's suggesting that not every team has the same level of buy-in and understanding of what it takes to win championships. That insight from a player who's been in multiple locker locker rooms is telling. The basketball landscape has always celebrated scorers and offensive brilliance, but Sydney is reminding everyone that championships require a complete team effort. Her willingness to embrace defensive assignments and contribute in ways that don't always show up in the box score exemplifies the championship mindset the Fever are trying to establish. What makes Sydney's message particularly powerful is its authenticity. She's not just speaking theoretically about what might work, she's sharing first-hand experience of what actually has worked at the highest level. That lived experience carries tremendous weight in a locker room, especially one with championship aspirations. The Fever have undergone a significant transformation over the past few seasons, assembling a roster that blends youth and experience. Sydney's addition represents a clear commitment to bringing in players who understand how to win in today's WNBA. Her championship pedigree complements the existing talent perfectly. When Sydney mentions speaking up a lot if everyone doesn't buy into their roles, she's demonstrating the kind of accountability that championship teams require. It's not just about coaches setting expectations, it's about players holding each other to those standards daily. That player-led accountability often separates contenders from pretenders. As fans look ahead to the 2025 season, Sydney's comments provide a window into what the Fever's identity might be. While Caitlin Clark will undoubtedly remain the focal point offensively, Sydney is hinting at a team-wide commitment to defense, role acceptance and collective responsibility. That balanced approach could make Indiana particularly dangerous. The WNBA continues to evolve, with offensive numbers and pace increasing across the league. Within this environment, defensive specialists like Sydney become even more valuable. Her ability to disrupt opposing guards and apply pressure on the perimeter gives the Fever a counter to the explosive offensive talent scattered throughout the league. What Sydney ultimately brings to the Fever goes beyond her on-court contributions. She brings a championship blueprint, a proven method for turning potential into achievement. Her willingness to share that knowledge and hold her teammates accountable to those standards could accelerate Indiana's timeline significantly. With training camp approaching and the season on the horizon, Sydney's comments have set the tone for what promises to be a fascinating 2025 campaign for the Indiana Fever. The combination of Clark's generational talent and Colson's championship experience creates intriguing possibilities for a franchise looking to return to the WNBA's elite. There you have it, folks. Sydney Colson is bringing that championship DNA to the Indiana Fever, and she's not afraid to speak up and lead. Her defensive prowess and acceptance of her role alongside Caitlin Clark could be exactly what pushes this team to championship contention in 2025. What do you think about Sydney's comments? Will this be the season the Fever return to glory? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this inside scoop, smash that like button and hit subscribe for more breaking WNBA news and analysis. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Until next time, this is your host signing off.